Hey brothers and sisters, I'm so happy to be with you today. It is Easter. I am so excited. It's such a fabulous time to be alive when Christ has already died for our sins and all we need to do is believe in that. And today I want to take you through a very possibly famous chapter, Isaiah 53, in the form of a parable, not a parable, a story which I have thought of it myself to make it understandable in a little more palatable manner. So this dress has plants on it, and that is not by accident. Okay, the story I'm going to tell you is about a garden full of plants. Just imagine a garden full to the brim, full of poisonous weeds. And there is one plant growing in the middle of that which is not like anything around it. It is completely pure, it is a healthy plant, it has the potential to heal other plants, alright? Because it looks just like the other plants, but it is so different in its property, the other plants are not able to really grow with it, right? They start to reject this one plant. And because of the nature of this one plant, what this one plant can only do is absorb the poison from the plants around it. Now just think that this plant was put there by God to intentionally absorb this poison and give out healing. So it's kind of a transaction being made. It gives out healing, absorbs poison, gives out healing, absorbs poison. And as this plant keeps on and on absorbing poison, it begins to look darker and darker, gets more ugly, and the other plants that are poisonous, though they've been healed, it's kind of their nature to still retain poison in them, alright? So they look at this plant and they start to reject it even more. They start to hate it even more. Like, can you just imagine the colors, alright? I love colors. So just imagine every poisonous weed around is like a lavender tint to it. But because all these plants around are giving its poison to this one healthy plant, it's becoming a dark, deep purple. If this is not scientifically true, just go with me on this. And as this plant becomes uglier and uglier with the poison of the plants around, the same plants around begin to hate that plant because it is carrying all their poison. And so these poisonous plants, they form a kind of agreement between themselves, excluding this one plant, that they will cut off all supply of water and nourishment to this plant, and they begin to isolate this plant and inhibit water and vitamins and whatever that plant needs from getting to it. So slowly this plant, which is now has gone from really healthy, untouched, it's gone to really ugly, full of poison of the whole garden. It is withering and it starts to die. And you can imagine when this plant is withering and dying, the plants around hate it even more. And finally, it dies. All the plants are kind of satisfied. They're still poisonous, so there's nothing really changed in their life. But a few days later, I should say 3 days later, and you know where I'm going with this, a few days later, the plant arrives once again. And it's as it was before. All the darkness has gone from it, the poison has vanished from it. It was as it always was. Most of the plants cannot accept that this is the same plant that died because it died. There's no coming back right after that. Once you die, it's over. Game over. But there are a few plants in the garden that kind of realize, by accident almost, that when they are near this plant, their poison is eliminated. Not only is it eliminated, but they become healthy. So they begin to grow, their roots begin to entwine, and they begin to grow off the health of this one plant. And as this kind of interdependence happens, there becomes more healthy plants within this garden, all of whom are rejected by the poisonous plants, but nonetheless they thrive. And the point I want to get across to you today is something that has hit me every time I read Isaiah chapter 53, and it is that Jesus came to the earth to take our sins, but he was crucified for the very good that he was doing for his people. It was like he was doing a good deed for his people. He came all the way from heaven to the earth and took on all this poison on himself. And for the same reason, the people began to reject him and say, he's mad, he's out of his mind, he's demon-possessed. And they crucified him, and that saddens me so much that we do it even now. So this verse 4 and 5. Surely our griefs he himself bore, and our sorrows he carried, yet we ourselves esteemed him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. Can you see what I'm trying to say? There's a sort of irony here. He took on our poison and we rejected him for that same poison. He was pierced through for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities, the chastening for our well-being fell upon him. And by his scourging, we are healed. There's so much within these words that I can't fully explain, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say, and that is that Christ bore our poison, and because he did that, we have become healthy, we've become whole. We can be those plants which are not poisonous and have health in them and have what we are always meant to be, to bear good fruit and provide all the health and goodness that this world needs. Yet somehow we reject those who are holy and who appear to be doing everything good. We don't want to go near them because it makes us feel bad. Brothers and sisters, this is something I heard from Joyce yesterday while I was watching her videos. We are made healthy on the inside. God always intended us to be good and holy and pure. And we have learned through our ancestors and through their sins and the sins before them, it has become sort of embedded in us to sin and to have this bitterness and evil. But that's not who God made us to be. And through the death and resurrection of Jesus, this is very important. It's not just that he died, right? Because if he died, none of this would make any sense. The fact that he resurrected from the dead is what makes such a big difference. Because he is alive, that power of this poison that is afflicting all of us today, it is broken. And if we just believe in the power of Jesus, in his death and his resurrection, and who he is, the Son of God, we can be made whole. We can be made as he is, not as God, but as children of God. So that's all I wanted to leave with you today. It is so amazing that we have this gift of salvation. It is so powerful, and I wish that we all would thrive in it every day as healthy plants, as healthy trees, giving out oxygen, giving good fruit for others to enjoy, and have this lovely little garden that can become such a beautiful place if we just allow Jesus into our hearts and allow his healing to replace our poison. I hope you enjoyed that little anecdote. This is Vihan Damaris on Serious Sundays signing off, and I'll see you tomorrow on Miraculous Mondays. Bye, and always strive to be like Jesus.